wish I knew how to quit you.
Bond.
This seems so
James Bond.
There's no place like home.
I'm gonna make him an offer down with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for our Oscar discussion. Not just immediate reactions, but we've had time to ruminate. We've had time to think on it. And now we are actually able to give our full thoughts until we debate and think about it again the next day and then the day after that. But until then, well, cue the music. Hey everybody, welcome to Gone with the Wind, the show about award shows where we talk about, you guessed it, award shows. I'm your host, Summer of Manning. Not really, it's just Manning Franks, but that's probably one of my favorite documentaries of the year, so why not have some fun? I forgot to turn it off from a stream I did last night, so whoops, haven't changed it. But I am not alone today. I have, of course, our regular panelist. I have, you all know him, you love him. He is Dan, the man, Skip Allen. Dan, welcome, sir.
Hey, man. I was in a country called Bhutan today, and I seen a yak in the classroom. What the hell, man?
I understand. I think I know what you saw. So I'm excited to be able to see that or hear your thoughts more accurately. And also, we have, you love him. He's our favorite New Zealander ever, Malcolm.
Hello.
I love how that's always your intro. It's just hello. It's a very formal, straight to the point. I respect it. And finally, we have a very special guest. We've had some people in the past. We've had Sean Bullman. We've had from Disappoint Media. We've had Daniel Montgomery from Gold Derby. We have another one who is actually one of our favorite podcasts. I can't speak for all of them, but for one of my own, we have a very special guest. You know him. You love him. It's Matt Neglia from Next Best Picture. Matt, welcome, sir.
Hello. How are you all doing today?
Great.
Well, we are doing good, and I'm sure our audience is going to have a smashing day today because they get to hear your thoughts. Well, they'll probably hear them already if they've watched the Patreon reaction, but at the same time, they're going to hear some fresh thoughts from all of us. So, but quickly, Josephine has a quick question. Who won in a fight, a yak in a classroom or the Dune sandworm?
She's already bringing it.
The Dune sandworm. I've seen Lunana, a yak in the classroom, and I've seen Dune, so I know who would definitely win in that fight.
So it's not the yak.
No, it's not the yak.
No, that yak's pretty tame.
Oh, well, I have no idea what to expect. I know it's actually available to rent on VOD now, so I'm excited to watch this later. This little documentary that could, we'll say.
It's a linear film.
Yeah, it's not a documentary.
It's a real.
Oh, excuse me.
Film.
You're right. My brain is thinking of documentary for some reason over there, but no, that's not Attica Ascension nor the others that we have there.
Summer of Manning.
Hmm?
Summer of Manning, your name there.
I know, it was Summer of Soul. I'm not thinking of that right now. It's okay. It's okay. We're moving right along. So we're going to quickly do what we normally do, and that is kind of say what we've watched and, what we've enjoyed this past week. But mainly because we're running low on time, and since we only have about an hour 30 we want to make it a little snappy. So Dan, you have one film that you wanted to talk about, and we'll kind of go around talking about one particular film. So Dan, what is one film you wanted to highlight that you saw this past week?
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of the Oscar-nominated films that I hadn't seen, but the one, I alluded to it. I did see Lunana, a yak in the classroom. Sweet little coming-of-age story. I didn't know what to expect, but, I was like, what's... And then I was like, oh, my God, this is such a cute little story from Bhutan, a country I have no idea where it is. But I really enjoyed it. My review's up right now if you guys want to read my review. But, yeah, go to VOD, watch Lunana, a yak in the classroom. It's not the greatest film in the world. It's not the worst film in the world. It uses some tropes that we've seen before, but for this film, I think they worked. So, yeah. I wish I could talk about a couple more, but I can't.
For time's sake, any thoughts you guys have on Lunana, yak in the classroom? What some say took over a hero's spot at the Oscars. Matt, I know you've seen it. What are your thoughts on?
It's good. I had it presented to me by the publicist that was really pushing it behind the scenes, and they were doing their best to get as many eyeballs on it as they possibly could. It's a very sweet movie. I particularly enjoyed it. It wasn't one of my favorites, but that's just a credit to what a good campaign can get you if you can get enough eyeballs on your movie. And that was kind of the thing with international feature this year. Was I noticed that the movies that got in were the ones that probably were the most widely seen. And you would think that that would be a hero, but Amazon really, in my opinion, didn't really do that much to push it. I think they were kind of just banking on the release on Amazon to kind of give it another life of its own, and it didn't really take off when it landed there. I didn't see barely anyone talking about it. So in the end, I wasn't surprised to see that land there. But at the same time, you know, that 5 that many people were predicting to get in, something had to give, and I knew it was going to be one of them. I just, you know, I predicted that original 5: Flee, Drive My Car, Worst Person in the World, A Hero in the Hand of God. But for the life of me, I didn't know which one to take out. So didn't surprise me that it was Lunana, and it didn't surprise me that A Hero was the one to drop off. I couldn't tell you for sure, but that was what was going to happen.
No, it was a safe bet, and that's probably what most predicted. If he went to Gold Derby, that was the 5 that you just did not know what to take off, because those were kind of like the ones for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see it now, and there is a yak in it. There is a yak,
Yes,
right?
there is a yak.
Is he
And
in
the thing is,
costume?
too, is maybe they thought, oh, Asghar Farhadi has won 2 Oscars already. We'll give somebody else a chance.
Well, you know, it's funny because actually the Oscar doesn't go to the filmmaker. It actually goes to the country when they win Best International Feature. So technically speaking, he is not an Oscar winner as a person. Yeah. And so even though 2 of his films have won that category, that's the way that the international category works.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Did A Separation win screenplay?
No, but it was nominated.
Okay. I could not recall for that. For the life
So
of me.
technically he is an Oscar nominee, him individually, but he's not an Oscar winner, even though 2 of his films have won that category.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. That's
yeah, it's like this archaic rule that they really need to change, in my opinion. I think it's completely ridiculous, and I think they should do away with it.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Well, that's another conversation for another day in and of itself. But Malcolm, what have you seen over there in New Zealand?
I haven't really watched anything new this week. I've just been watching sort of Liam Neeson movies because in preparation for Rankin today.
Love it.
Black
But
Light, you haven't seen that
like
yet?
the most recent one that I watched was Kinsey, which I thought was a really good movie.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Nice. I forgot about that one. Possibly some for an Oscar. We will know. I don't know who to take out from that year, though, is the problem. So, Matt, what have you seen this week? And pick which one of the highlights of this week that you have watched.
It's funny because I actually was supposed to watch 2 movies last night. I ended up falling asleep pretty early too, which kind of shocked me, but I guess I was just exhausted.
Sundance getting to you.
Yeah, right. But I actually watched Kimmy this past week, the new Steven Soderbergh film streaming on HBO Max, starring Zoe Kravitz. And this is a very, very interesting, tight little thriller that brings in a lot of relevant topics such as the pandemic, also sexual assault, and there has this technology surveillance, like thriller aspect to it that I really found to be quite enjoyable. It's not going to change the world or anything like that, but as far as just a solid, well-rounded, easy watch, I thought that it was really effective, and you could, like I said, stream it right now on HBO Max.
I haven't got to it yet.
No, haven't got to that yet now, but I'm slowly, just because Soderbergh has been very hit or miss recently with his most recent Oscar outing specifically, which, that in of itself is something that is divisive to say the least. But I'm excited to see this because
I would say it's like mid-tier, like Soderbergh. It's not like one of his very, very best films, but it's definitely not one of his worst. And I would not say that it is a bad film by any means. It's just it exists and it's good. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm definitely catching this weekend. If I can get some sleep first, then watch it.
Yes, sleep is very important. For myself, the one that I actually watched this week, I watched opening night because they wanted something for WFY News 2 where I work to review that could be accessible for all audiences. And what is better, or what is more accessible than a Jennifer Lopez rom-com for
I saw
Marry
this
Me?
too.
Okay. Those trailers did not do this movie justice because as shaky and over the top as this premise is, as I said in my review, it is like cinematic cotton candy. It is super sweet as you taste it on your taste buds, and it goes down and you completely forgotten about it as it dissolves away.
Yeah.
It is harmless fun, and I really enjoyed it the entire way through. Surprising amount of chemistry from the two leads, which is it's not electric like a McConaughey and a Lopez like you had. It's very tender, their chemistry, and they have a comfortability with each other that I really appreciated. And I mean, the songs, of course, not everyone is going to enjoy a Jennifer Lopez song or Maluma. I think bangers. I loved a lot of them and I've been listening to them a lot. Have any of y'all seen Marry Me?
I really like that Jennifer Lopez was playing like a version of herself in this, and I thought that she felt very relaxed. And I agree, the chemistry with Owen Wilson was fantastic, and he does a really good job when he's asked to play these everyman roles. And I found myself drawn to him in a very sincere way, where I just thought this is a very normal, nice guy, and he's also not, GQ model level status, so it still retains a little bit of that mismatch where she's like this global, like banging hot, like superstar, and he's kind of just everybody, and I really, really liked the way that the two personalities clashed in this, and I actually found it to be, like you said, very sweet, harmless. I'm probably going to forget about it in a week, but it was definitely not the disaster I thought it was going to be.
I heard it. Owen Wilson was that role was recast, and Owen Wilson got it afterwards. One of our controversial people was originally cast in that role, if I'm not mistaken.
It was supposed to be Armie Hammer.
Yeah,
really?
Which would not have worked. I think you need someone like an Owen Wilson who's a bit more relatable in that regard to make this work. And thank God it did. So oh
Lord, yeah.
I'm happy about that outcome.
Well, I mean, I'm not too sure the story, but I'm pretty sure Armie Hammer actually pulled out of the role, all that controversy stuff. It was actually the opposite of being kicked from it. So
unfortunately, we still got him in Death on the Nile.
But that was probably filmed about a few years ago. So.
No, yeah, they couldn't do anything about that. That was too late.
Kenneth Branagh did that before Belfast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, you're right. They pushed it back like twice or something.
Yep.
Jeez, forgot about that. Well, yeah, Marry Me, I think, is a harmless fun and probably like a really nice Valentine's Day film. But yeah, it would not have worked with Armie Hammer. It would have been the tone would have been completely different because it would have kind of changed the story almost in a way, just because Armie Hammer and Owen Wilson are not comparable actors in my mind in the slightest.
No, Wilson's much better as the everyman type guy.
Oh yeah.
It lends itself to a guy in the crowd accidentally holding up a sign saying "Marry Me" back, and then she much more than the strapping physique of Armie Hammer.
Yes. No, you're right. Definitely completely different. All right. So those are the movies that we have kind of seen this past week. And now we're going to move right along. I need you to get my phone out because it has the list of notes that I have. And we're going to quickly kind of go through all the different categories as they were announced, as our emotions were kind of like running wild at that moment because it felt like chaos was unleashed. Literally the moment the first name for the first category came out, you knew we were in for a wild ride. So we're going to start off by giving a general thoughts. Matt, as our guest, tell me, what are your general thoughts about the nominations? And what was your biggest, we'll be positive. What was the biggest delight that you saw?
So, I mean, when it comes to the Oscar nominations, they're always going to be a mixture of good and bad, always. There's never going to be a scenario where everybody is always going to be pleased. It's impossible because film is so subjective and you have so many different tastes. And nowadays there seems to be this this debate that's happening with the Oscars that is coming from a very, very vocal group of people who don't even care about the Oscars. They're asking for populist movies like Spider-Man No Way Home to be nominated for Best Picture, when even if it was, they wouldn't bother watching it anyway. And I speak to people quite often in my personal life who are not really movie fans, and they're the ones saying this stuff. They're like, I don't understand why the Oscars are nominating movies that I've never heard of before. And it's like, well, maybe if you saw these movies and you actually gave a shit and cared, you would change your mind a little bit about this. But if you're only going to watch one type of movie, then I just don't understand. Like, to me, like, I'm sorry, but your opinion weighs so much less in this argument, as far as I'm concerned. So you get a lot of that through all of this. But I mean, ultimately, when all is said and done for movie fans, I'm very satisfied. Yes, there were some misses that shocked me. There are always misses every year. It's very, very rare that everything lines up exactly as you're expecting it to. So with the movies that got in, the thing I think I'm most pleased about overall is seeing international films get recognized outside of Best International Feature Film with nominations elsewhere. That was probably the most satisfying aspect of the morning for me.
Awesome. Dan, you're someone else who also really loved and championed international films. Was that a highlight for you? And overall thoughts, I'm assuming they are positive?
Yeah, no, I mean, I missed one in Best Picture in my predictions, and I pretty much loved the 10 films that we got in Best Picture. And I want to reiterate what Matt said. I definitely love seeing the foreign films in other categories, especially Worst Person in the World, Drive My Car, two of my favorite films in the world. And you guys know, I've waxed poetic about how much I think some of the best films of the year are foreign films. A Hero was one of my biggest letdowns because I was really, I wanted that 5. I had that 5 in my mind, and we were talking about this earlier. But Denis Villeneuve, to me, that film, if you get that film nominated in all those categories, who's responsible for putting those people into those jobs so that film could look the way it looks and it comes across the way it comes?
I don't disagree with you about this, but I think what people need to realize with that miss in particular is that it's nothing personal against Denis Villeneuve.
I know
he's been nominated before.
Yeah, I know.
And so I really think that was just a case of, because if you ask anybody that follows awards punditry, Jane Campion and Denis Villeneuve were considered like the two safest of that category.
Yeah.
And maybe after the BAFTA nominations, Paul Thomas Anderson was considered pretty safe. So he would be like number 3. A lot of people thought that either Kenneth Branagh or Steven Spielberg were going to miss. So when they both made it in, and Hamaguchi was coming on strong at the end, we all knew that was a possibility because the director's branch tends to nominate an international feature director. And so something had to give. And I really think it's nothing against like somebody saying like, oh, I didn't like the way Dune was directed. I think it really just was people assuming Denny is safe. I'm going to put my vote towards this person instead, not to mention Spielberg getting in. It's not really that shocking when you consider that he's obviously been doing this for decades. He's so respected. He has so many friends within the branch, I'm sure, as well. So him getting in, I can understand. And Branagh getting in, I can also understand now, too. And if either one of them had missed, I would have understood why they missed, too. It's like one of those things where I'm not angry. And part of the reason why I'm not angry about this also is because I know deep down in my heart what's to come with part 2 of Dune. And I know that story and I know what Denis going to do with it. And I really think that he will be back with a vengeance when that movie comes out.
It could be a Peter Jackson.
Because Peter Jackson didn't make it in for Two Towers. He got in for Fellowship for Director, wasn't nominated for Two Towers. And then when Return to King came around, it was like this huge IOU that they had for him.
So, I mean, I'm thinking I had that in the back of my head, Matt. But Yeah, I still wanted him in there, and then the
Of
rescue,
course. Yeah.
rescue and document. I am so sick of the documentary branch.
Well, we'll get to that in a second, Dan.
Yeah.
We'll get your thoughts on documentary into a second because let's not jump ahead of ourselves just yet. Malcolm, were you going to say something before we actually move in? Because I was going to ask, what are your opinions of the actual Oscars?
Yeah, and we'll probably get more into Best Director later anyway. But
Yes.
one thing I'll say is, I would argue that like Denis putting all the people in the like technical stuff is more of his job role as the producer as opposed to the director. For me, the director is the one that just directs the action on set. Like so I mean, look, I'll get more into that in a minute. But for me, with the nominations, I was just happy with the way they went down. While I was one of those people championing No Way Home, it was also one of those log shots that I didn't think would happen anyway, because, like, as we said, like, if it got a PGA nomination, then I probably would have made a serious prediction for it, but it didn't. So,
yes.
Can I ask you a question? Why were you championing it? Just no shade. I'm curious.
I mean, like for me, I thought it was one of the best movies. Like it was definitely in my top 10 movies of last year. I just really love that movie.
Sure.
But
and go ahead, Malcolm.
Oh yeah, and I mean, it's one of those ones like, if a comic book movie from last year was going to get it in, I kind of thought it was, for me personally, I was hoping it was going to be No Way Home out of the ones that came out last year.
Yeah, there was no other one that was going to do it. And it would had to have had a PGA at the least to be able to be in the conversation. Even then,
I think the industry has made it very clear. The industry has made it clear that they will reward superhero movies when they are striving to be something other than commercial, mainstream, blockbuster entertainment. And that is all No Way Home really was, honestly. It was good. I enjoyed it. I had a great time watching it. I can't wait to watch it again when it comes out on 4K. But, like, you know, you really need to be either pushing the medium forward in a way that it hasn't necessarily been done before, like something like The Dark Knight, which surely would have made it in a year of 10. I know it didn't make it in for Best Picture in a year of 5, but like that movie got 8 nominations, you know? And Black Panther was a cultural phenomenon. And I think the reason why that movie got in and something that like Avengers Endgame or Spider-Man No Way Home does not is because that was the first movie. It wasn't the 4th or the 6th in a long running line of sequels, which, you know, I can understand the hesitancy with something like that. It kind of dilutes the special, unique feeling. And then something like Joker's a unique blend of that blockbuster comic book filmmaking, but also trying to take a more artistic, serious approach. And I really think that the Oscars will go for these movies when they are not just trying to be about commerce.
The crafts of Black Panther were amazing. I mean, below the line, there's so many great achievements below the line of Black Panther. I mean, it was a visual marvel to look at, and it sounded great, and I mean, everything. So there's a lot of things.
I mean, Logan got nominated for adapted screenplay too. You know, don't forget that. And that was like a really ballsy movie at the time. Before they killed Tony Stark, before they killed James Bond, they killed Wolverine. Like that was considered a ballsy thing, you know. So
it was cried like a baby. It was. I will add upon the fact is that something like the Joker, and even to an extent something almost like Logan, as we had mentioned prior, they are things that are not the traditional quote unquote superhero blockbuster fare. As you said, they strive to be something different. They tell a story that is outside that traditional superhero-dom as we have known it to be. And at this point, Joker didn't even really feel like a superhero. It's supervillain, of course, but it didn't even feel like that because they went for what Todd Phillips was doing. Even if I don't care for the movie that much, you can see what they were doing. They went for something greater and different from what the traditional superhero films are striving to do most nowadays.
Right.
Spider-Man was more for the fans. It was more of a fan-friendly
and I loved it.
And the fans were the fans returned in kind. Look how much
Yeah.
money that movie has made, which
Yeah.
is why, like, when the Oscar thing then comes up, I kind of like am of this mindset of, you already got something that every other nominee wishes that they had.
Money.
And this
Oof,
this platform, the Oscars, is the only reason that these movies will be relevant for a lot of people or even be seen by a lot of people. That movie doesn't need that kind of assistance, doesn't need that kind of like help. But then you get something like Dune, which is, once again, in my opinion, really combining that blockbuster style filmmaking with artistic achievement and kind of bringing the two together. I don't, here's another great example of something like this. Very, very, very rarely do you see the Oscars go full blown art house, like full blown.
No.
Like the Green Knight didn't get any nominations, right?
Yeah, that's too bad.
But yet at the same time, if there is like this, and so like I consider them to be like on opposite ends of the spectrum in this regard, right? Blockbusters, art house. The Oscars tend to go for movies that kind of meet more so in the middle.
French Dispatch,
true.
which I thought at least was going to get production design.
Which, again, we'll get into in a second. In fact, Matt, finish your thought and we can move on to the actual.
No, that was kind of just it, is that, like, yes, there were always exceptions to this rule, but more often than not, there are movies that meet in the middle somewhere. And if you haven't seen these movies, that's on you, in my opinion. Like if you haven't seen a King Richard, for example, and yet you're concerned that Spider-Man No Way Home didn't get in the best picture. Malcolm, I'm not calling you out with something like that. I'm just saying that, like, I think that's more of a reflection on the individual than less of a reflection on the Oscars.
Yeah.
Are you gonna say something, Malcolm?
The last thing I was going to say is like I'm happy with what got it nominated. Like, as I said, like I wasn't predicting it to get in. I was it was kind of a silent hope. But it does make me sad to see high ranking like directors and that judging this whole snub of No Home. But because I mean I know Kevin Smith has spoke out about it. But it's one thing to have just random people off the street doing it, but when you've got like high ranking people like directors and that saying it, then that's just weird to me.
It is, but at the same time, like Kevin Smith is a full-blown comic book junkie,
Agreed.
But, the Academy is mostly made up of your Steven Spielberg's, your Martin Scorsese's. It's a generational thing, I think. And, as tides shift and as time goes on, we will see, I think, a change take place, because I think we're already seeing a lot of change take place with this Academy. We've seen them add over 3,000 new members. We heard this year was the highest voter turnout in their history. And I think that the nominations reflected that in a lot of ways.
Yes, I was about to add, it does. You look at these nominations, they are very reflective of a changing Academy. It's very different in comparison to what even like 5 years ago, I would think. And every year we're just getting a little more diverse, both internationally and in various ways, honestly. And the films that are included. But we're going to move right along now and give our quick thoughts on some of the actual nominations that transpired. And we're going to start off with the banger, the one that they started off with right out of the gate, that we were all kind of just like, oh Lord, they have chosen chaos. And that is Best Supporting Actress. Best Supporting Actress they started off with Jessie Buckley, The Lost Daughter, Ariana DeBose, West Side Story, Judi Dench, Belfast, Kristen Dunst, The Power of the Dog, and Ingenue Ellis, King Richard. So that was what we call how to start with a bang. You don't go out with a bang. You started with a bang. So Dan, give me your quick thoughts along the lines of what Supporting Actress gave for you and what your thoughts were at that time and where they are now.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised at a couple of the nominees, but the three main nominees that I thought should have been nominated were nominated. I think the winner that should have been nominated is going to win, and that's Ariana DeBose. I'd like to see Ingenue Ellis win, but I'm not upset, because the best part of West Side Story, in my opinion, is Ariana DeBose. And it's ironic that the same exact role won the Academy Award 60 years ago. So it's going to win again for a different actress, and she deserves it because she was fantastic in the movie, and she's the best part of the movie. So that's
Agreed.
how I sum up Best Supporting Actress.
No, and yeah, I think that's very apropos that she would win once again for a role that had won the Oscar prior because she's really good. She's that good in it, in my mind. So Malcolm, tell me your thoughts on what Best Supporting Actress had for you. Were there any ones that you were kind of disappointed that couldn't make it? Any ones that you were shocked with?
Yeah, there wasn't really any that I was surprised that didn't make it in. Like, just going on the momentum, like I was kind of surprised that Judi Dench made it in over Belf. But it's one of those ones. Is what I'm thinking might have happened is like they probably thought, well, we don't know how much longer Judi Dench is going, so we want to get her in as much more times as possible. And Belf is just up and coming, so she's probably got more chances going forward. So that's kind of what I suspect might have happened. I don't know for sure if that was why it happened that way, but I mean, in saying that, I like Judi Dench. I do. Just based on how much Mannings loves Belfast, I'm probably going to go see Belfast at some stage, just to make my own opinion of it.
Anyway, so Matt,
it's a good movie. Good job.
It's fine. It's a fine film. It's a fine film.
It's good.
Yeah, it's perfectly good. So Matt, which brings an extra interesting question. Yes, and much as I wanted Ruth Negga again for passing, it was always kind of the uphill battle because her movie was not as widely seen as something like a Belfast. Sadly, those screeners.
She was also looking like she was going to be the only nomination for her film too, which also never is a good sign.
No, which is sad for me because I absolutely adore passing. Even if she had everything. Ultimately didn't turn out that way. So, but the one that was shocking was Judi Dench because she got nothing up until that moment and she beat out Balf. Oh, you have something
she did win the Australian Academy Award.
You're right.
Which is its own like the BAFTAs, it's its own international like academy, and she did win that. But that was kind of brushed off by everybody as a like they just like Judi Dench. And I got to admit, like Balf missing was very surprising because she's one of the few people now that joins an illustrious group that have been nominated for Critics' Choice, Golden Globe, SAG, and BAFTA, and gone on to still miss the Oscar nomination. And to lose it out to Judi Dench instead, I have a couple theories to this. One is I think that there are just enough people who love Judi Dench, have worked with her, and they just love her. I think that in terms of the movie, they probably strongly resonated and connected with her final moment in the film, which I think speaks a lot to the movie itself, even though it did miss a few key nominations that we'll get into a little bit later. And then the last thing is on a more morbid note, she's 87 years old. She supposedly had to be pulled out of retirement to do this role because she was having trouble, I think, reading scripts or something like that, from what I understand.
Oh, wow.
She was doing this as like a favor to Kenneth Branagh. And I think that it was kind of like a sentimentality sort of thing going on here, where how many more does she have left? You know, let's just give her another nomination sort of thing. I love Judi Dench. Oh yeah, let's just check her off. Katrina Balfe is safe. I love Judi Dench, you know, and maybe that took over people where it's like, I know Katrina Balfe is getting in. I love Judi Dench though, you know.
Is Judi Dench becoming the new Meryl Streep?
No, not at all. But I just think that she has a lot of goodwill amongst voters in the Academy, and I'm not surprised.
But
also the name. I mean, I think the name might be a little bit like, well, who's Katrina Balfe? You know, that kind of thing.
She wasn't Ford v Ferrari. People watch Outlander. You know, she's been around.
She was.
All right.
Is.
About that. Yeah. I forgot about that completely.
I mean, pull that back up. The other one that I'm surprised I didn't go for was just now that I mentioned her, that I've just thought of this. Considering how much the Academy apparently loved Don't Look Up, I'm surprised they didn't put Meryl Streep in.
At that juncture.
I don't think the Academy liked Don't Look Up as much as people think.
Yeah.
But
That's true.
I thought
no,
Anna de Armas was great in that little 20-minute whatever she was in No Time to
In
Die.
No Time to Die?
Yeah, but
No,
that's
not
like
happening,
one of those
no.
things where it's like, yeah, it's fun, but like that's not a
Yeah.
Academy, you
Yeah.
know.
No.
What I will say also too is Jessie Buckley getting in was, I when she got first announced, I thought, okay, that's it. Like that's the surprise of the category. We're not going to see any more surprises. Then Judi Dench happened, and it was like, whoa. But Jessie Buckley getting in, I did get the sense that there was this late last minute surge that she was experiencing, and it's not surprising when you consider that a lot like Jesse Plemons, she's just been on a roll these past couple of years where everything that she's in, she is dynamite. I mean, she is just such an electrifying actress to watch nowadays that I can't say once again that I was that surprised, but at the same time, it was shocking because this was the category, the acting category, where I was like pretty certain that the 5 were going to make it in and there wouldn't be any surprises. So for there to be 2 surprises in this category, that was shocking.
Yeah. And actually, now that I think about it, because I think when they're announcing the nominations, they do it in alphabetical order, correct?
Yes, they do.
So as soon as Jessie Buckley's name came up, we probably should have realized Katrina Balfe wasn't coming up.
See, I was so shocked by Buckley being announced that I didn't realize until DeBose got announced next. It didn't register, and then next thing you know, Dench got in, and then it was like, what is happening?
Yes.
You know. And then the last slot, it was like, is it Roof or is it Ingenue Ellis? You know, like, or it could have been Ann Dowd because Dunst. But I mean,
Sadly.
it was still crazy. My mind was like exploding during that
They
moment.
didn't go very far down the alphabet when they were checking their boxes.
No, they did not. They did not. But what I was going to add upon that, this supporting actress, I feel like out of all the acting categories, was the one that most people were having a consensus on. This was the 5. I know that Next Best Picture, all y'all had 5.
We
And,
also
we
that's
did
true,
too over
We
here.
were like, this is not right. We should somebody should change their prediction because when we all realized that we all were predicting the same 5, all 12 of us, we were like, yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. Because every time that has happened, it's always backfired on us, unless if it truly, truly, truly is a sure thing. You know, like I mean, I'm failing to remember a time when the last time that was true, but like there are some instances, maybe with like animated feature or something like that, where it's like it's these 5. Like it's not going to be anything else. It is these 5. But this was a case where I knew that we were going to get something crazy. It broke my heart to have any of these ladies miss. And, you know, Roof was the one that I had her at number 5. I figured if anyone was going to miss out, it would be her because the others are Best Picture nominees, but except for Buckley, of course. But at least she had the benefit of screenplay, contention, Best Actress with Olivia Colman. I mean, Ruth Negga, you know, passing couldn't even get into adapted screenplay. So,
pour one out for passing, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Moving right along, we also had costume design, which happened right afterwards, and we were kind of coming down off of that high of the craziness that transpired with supporting actress to where what kind of to me was another subdued. I've got this 5 for 5, nothing too crazy. Well, I think Cyrano actually got in over Gucci, so I got 4 for 5. So close. But yeah, no, Malcolm, seeing these, is this kind of like Cruella and then just the ones that are just the rest is what we're looking at, just Cruella and the rest?
I mean, I don't think it's as clear cut as what everyone might think. I think everyone's assuming Cruella will win because that is about costumes and that. But I could see a scenario where Cyrano maybe wins here. It's definitely going to be one of those ones that's going to be interesting, to say the least. And I was just surprised that House of Gucci being another movie about costuming also just missed here.
Well, I will add upon that fact is that this is kind of indicative of how Siguchi's day overall was going to be, and this should have been the hint that we ultimately got. But we'll get into those categories a little bit later. Yeah, just for clarification, we have Cruella, Cyrano, Dune, Nightmare Alley, and West Side Story. Matt, out of all those, I pose the same question: is this Cruella, or does something like maybe a Dune take it again here? Because it's going to rank up a lot.
So one of the things that you don't ever really want to go against in any of these categories is, if a film is nominated for Best Picture and then something isn't, you kind of want to side with the film that's nominated for Best Picture. But Cruella is by far the showiest costumes of the bunch. So my gut says that if it is sweeping the main precursors in the lead up to the Oscars, like if it wins the BAFTA, if it wins the Critics' Choice, if it wins the Costume Designers Guild, it will win the Oscar and all will be fine. But if it shows weakness anywhere and it's to something like, say, Dune, which is also nominated for Best Picture, then we've got a real race on our hands here, I think, at that point. So I wouldn't call it a done deal just yet. However, being that movie really is all about the costumes, I would say it's ahead. I would say it's in the first place right now.
Mm-hmm. Dan, do you agree with Matt's sentiment regarding Cruella?
You're muted.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw that movie, the whole 70s kind of punk rock aspect of the movie and the costumes are the things that stuck out for me. And I was just blown away by the costumes and how they changed and all that kind of stuff. And it's a movie about fashion in some senses. So it's just kind of like, yeah, costumes. It's like a no-brainer. But I mean, I could see something like a Cyrano or something else winning, but I'm hoping Cruella gets that one,
Yeah, I utterly love. I'm one of those people who utterly adored Cruella. So I'm very happy if this was the case, because the garbage truck scene in and of itself is probably that reveal of that costume. Oh, chef's kiss. I love it to this day. One of my favorite scenes in that film. So I'd be very okay with that to make it. But we're moving on right now to sound. The sound category right now, achievement in sound. We have Belfast, Dune, No Time to Die, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. Ooh, The Power of the Dog made this in here. Huh. I wonder what this could actually mean the farther we get along. Dan, tell me, when you were first hearing this, what were your thoughts going through when you heard sound? You had stuff like Dune and No Time to Die, West Side Story 3, people kind of expected, but you also had Belfast, which people expected, and Power of the Dog, which, while I love the sound, I did not predict. What did you foresee transpiring in that category?
Not to step over you there, Malcolm. Manning. We've been talking about sound. The comb, the whistling, the way they use sound in The Power of the Dog is some of the things that really stood out for me in sound. Obviously, some of the big, some of the alien people and some of the things like that in Dune were really good. So I No Time to Die has some great sound, but I thought the sound in Power of the Dog was very innovative. That comb and the whistling, and so I'm thinking, I think if Power of the Dog wins it all, I think it needs to win sound.
Interesting. I see it as to me, this is kind of like Dune, and the rest are just happy to be here at this point. But no, I do really think the Power of the Dog sound is almost a character in some aspects, because it really makes sure Jane Campion likes to hone in on a lot of the sound aspects as she has these close-ups, or as she has these part of the sound that kind of make and add to the characters or to the environment. So I do think it's a really good sound category, or sound addition to this category. So I'm kind of not shocked, especially with how good of a day it was having. Matt, for you, looking back at the sound category, are any of these a big shock to you, other than, of course, I'm guessing Power of the Dog, or were you not shocked by that?
I was semi-shocked that The Power of the Dog got in there because that is not a movie that I think of when I think of sound. However, in telling this overall narrative that I'm sure we'll get into later about how The Power of the Dog is probably the front runner for Best Picture and is beloved by all members of the Academy, for it to get into here and a few other categories in particular, like it overperformed and it got more nominations than people thought it was going to get, this being one of them. And in the end, I don't think it's winning. I do think it is going to go to Dune, but it is a sign of strength that The Power of the Dog is beloved across all branches of the Academy.
And Malcolm, I for one am really sad that The Quiet Place Part 2 couldn't make it in here for some reason. It made it into BAFTA, didn't make it into this. Very sad. But for you, Malcolm, what is one that missed that you wish kind of got in, and what are your thoughts on the category?
Well, you spoiled it for me because it was going to be a
sorry.
Quiet Place Part 2.
Sorry. Well, besides Quiet Place Part 2, then.
I mean, honestly, there really wasn't anything else that I can think of like, off the bat that I was hoping would get in, because like most of the other ones I thought might have got in. But this leads the train for Power of the Dog because and just some facts that I actually found out when I was reading up about this, but like Power of the Dog is the first movie directed by a female director that has gotten more than 10 nominations at the Oscars. So
Yes.
Wow.
there was no for J.K. to do that feat. It shows how much Power of the Dog was loved.
Yeah, no, you're right. That this is like we might have our first sweeper, I think, in this expanded. Well, we've had an expanded area since we've had this expanded more than just
The
5.
most that a film has won with
Recently.
Best Picture, in this expanded era, has been The Hurt Locker. Believe it or not. You have to go all the way back to 2009, and before that, it was pre Best Picture expansion. 2008, Slumdog Millionaire won 8. But yeah, ever since 2009 on, we're seeing Best Picture winners get 3, 4, 5 at most, because The Artist won 5. But yeah, it is like super rare now to see a Best Picture winner take a ton of Oscars. And I really think Power of the Dog could win on its absolute best day 7. But it's probably going to win somewhere between my gut instinct tells me somewhere between 4 and 6.
That's a very reasonable amount to be able to give for that. And I don't think it's going to win. I don't think it's going to be winning sound. There is one that it could still possibly win, and that is the next one they announced, original score. We have Don't Look Up, Dune, Encanto, Parallel Mothers, and The Power of the Dog. Now, I will quickly start by saying Hans Zimmer only has 1 Oscar. We'd love to give him a second Oscar. We're not surprised he made it. I mean, I'd love to give him a second Oscar, and this would be a perfect representation to do it. And Dune is kind of going to sweep up these crafts, so I kind of see Dune at this point, but I also see Greenwood kind of nipping on the heels, depending on how good Power of the Dog is going to be doing that day. And I'm assuming, Matt, I'll let you start with this one. This is one of maybe the 6th one that it could be taking away from, or it's one of the ones it could be taking away from Dune, but it could be like the 6th one it's taking overall.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really close race between Hans Zimmer and Johnny Greenwood. Zimmer has won before, but it was all the way back in 1994 for The Lion King. I think he has established himself, in my opinion, to be the second greatest living composer behind John Williams. And I think a lot of people would agree with me on that. And I don't think anybody would be upset to see Hans Zimmer win another Oscar and receive this kind of validation at this stage in his career, considering how long it's been since the last time he won, so that wouldn't shock me. But at the same time, Johnny Greenwood has been delivering some really interesting scores ever since There Will Be Blood, getting his first nomination for Phantom Thread. And he has been definitely, I will freely admit to this. His sound, his style isn't for me. I actually find sometimes the violin work, especially, to be kind of grating and annoying for me. But that's okay. I mean, everybody thinks of these things a little bit differently. I still admire the artistry and I admire the work. And so I would not be surprised if the love for the Power of the Dog is able to kind of sweep him in, especially if people know that he's never won. Zimmer already has. Who cares if it was that long ago? It's Johnny Greenwood's time. Not to mention, Greenwood did the score for Spencer, which didn't get nominated, and he did some work on Licorice Pizza as well. So if people realize like the kind of output that he's been delivering lately, they just might feel inclined to give it to him and kind of cement his status as a composer in this industry, considering still that he's relatively new to it all still.
Yeah, he is. Because I forgot that Phantom Thread was his first nomination. That's just kind of wild when you think about it, because of the work that he's been doing with PTA specifically.
Yep.
So Malcolm, looking at these, I know you are not a fan of Don't Look Up, as myself, but tell me, did this did in your opinion, is this deserving for Don't Look Up? Because I actually think the score is pretty good, and I don't care for it. What do you think?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember the score for Don't Look Up.
Fair. It's interesting. Go back and listen. It's really good.
I mean, I'm like, if I was to take any out, I would actually take Don't Look Up out to get French Dispatch in here, because I think the French Dispatch score is better in my opinion. But that being said, in this, like, I do think Power of the Dog is going to get it, like, because I'm also not the biggest fan of the score for Dune. I think it's fine, but I think the score for Power of the Dog is great, and I think because I think this is one of those ones where people may look at it, because I think it's assumed, I don't know if it's officially confirmed, that Hans Zimmer is coming back for Dune Part 2.
Yes,
he is.
So people might look at this and think, like, well, Hans is going to be doing the score for the Part 2, so we'll give it to, like, Power of the Dog here, and then, like, in a few years, it's probably going to be nominated again. We'll give it to Hans.
Well, that didn't stop James Horner winning for Fellowship and then winning again for Return of the King.
I mean, I do agree with you. And also Howard Shore did Lord of the Rings. Not
did I say? I was gonna say, did I say James Horner? My bad. I meant to say Howard Shore. Jesus Christ! I was like thinking about it mentally. I was like, did I say James Horner just now? I was like,
just go with it. Just go with it.
Yeah. No. You knew what I meant.
Yes.
James Horner's probably up in heaven thinking, I should have done Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he did the Avatar score. You know, I mean, that was pretty good stuff. Yeah. And he got his Oscars for Titanic.
He did. Another great score. So Dan, looking at the score right now, Parallel Mothers, that was an indication that probably that prognostication that we were starting to see from pundits that Penelope Cruz was gaining heat. Maybe we should have paid attention to that. Dan, what did you think for this original score lineup?
Yeah, I mean, I know Spencer hadn't been gaining a lot of strength here, but I felt like either Hans Zimmer or Johnny Greenwood should have got in twice. Specifically Johnny Greenwood, because I think Spencer's score is fantastic. And I think Johnny Greenwood, to go off of what Matt said, had a great year last year, and he deserved at least, either him or Hans Zimmer deserved 2 nominations in this category. And they sometimes will give 2. Desplat got 2 one year, and some people. So I think if anybody deserved 2 nominations, it was Johnny Greenwood for Spencer and Power of the Dog. And I'll tell you right now, it's neck and neck for me for who's going to win this. But I've been championing Johnny Greenwood all this entire award season, going back months and months.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to stick on Johnny Greenwood for Power of the Dog here, even though I'd love to see Hans Zimmer get. I lost.
Oh, Dan, you lost your camera.
You guys lost. I had some problems with the shaking. Something happened with shaking.
Well, while you were doing that, Malcolm, go ahead.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, on that note, that probably shows the changing sort of face of this academy as well, because what year was it when Desplat got in twice? That was 2014, was it, around the time of Grand Budapest?
Ooh, that's a 2014. That's the year of Birdman and Boyhood. I think
But
so.
yeah, I mean, anyway, because it's been a while since that had happened anyway, where Just Black got in twice. So it's probably shows the changing face of the music branch because there's probably a lot of people there's like saw two Hans Zimmer, two Johnny Green was like, we'll give one of their movies in here because we want to get show people there's more composers out there than the John Williams, the Hans Zimmers, the Howard Shaw's. They want to show off a many different composers.
Jermaine Franco. Now she has her reputation cemented with this nomination, historic nomination too, being the first female to compose a Disney a Disney animated film, and I love that nomination. I went back and I re-listened to the Encanto score, and it's really, really, really gorgeous. And she's the first, I think, Latina to get this nomination as well. So all around, like, that was really cool to see. Alberto Iglesias has been nominated before, so him being in contention for Parallel Mothers never was a great surprise to me. But I was definitely shocked to see Desplat miss out because he's someone that, like John Williams, he just seems to get nominated. But they didn't go for Midnight Sky last year, and they didn't go for French Dispatch this year. And I think, like, with French Dispatch overall, my gut tells me that the reason why that movie got completely shut out, and I'm sure we'll talk about this obviously with another category in a minute, is the movie was never in contention to get a Best Picture nomination. So I think that either it was at the bottom of people's screener pile and they didn't get to it, or they did get to it, and because the movie did not probably have a lot of passionate love outside of the crafts, I do think that it just didn't get enough votes in the end. There are some people who are able to separate their feelings from a movie and recognize an individual craft. But I remember being at Telluride and watching The French Dispatch, and people did not respond well to that movie at all. And then I saw it in New York a few weeks later, and that audience reacted so much better to it. So it was definitely a very interesting kind of reaction to see with The French Dispatch. And I, once again, one of those things where I'm a little shocked. Desplat, is a household name in that category. And the production design of The French Dispatch is some of the best of the year. It's immaculate. But if they don't like your movie, they just don't like your movie. And we saw that happen with, Spencer too, this season. So it just, it is what it is.
And I mean, I'm not too surprised that, like at the New York screening you went to, people reacted differently because the French Dispatch is loosely based on the New Yorker itself, so they probably were familiar with what they're trying to do.
I think the more art house, French cinema loving crowd definitely went for it for sure.
So we're going to move on to adapted screenplay and original screenplay. We're going to kind of bring them both up around the same time to kind of two birds and one stone this, as they like to say. But adapted screenplay, we have Coda, Drive My Car, Dune, The Lost Daughter, Power of the Dog. Original screenplay,
Easiest
Belfast.
category.
Yeah, I think
adapted was so easy.
Adapted was very easy. I thought you were about to say the original screenplay, and I was like, wow. Original screenplay, Belfast, Don't Look Up, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, and the thought of like, what missed? Oh, wait, The Worst Person in the World, probably my second favorite nomination that managed to come out of nowhere, and I'm here for it. So, Matt, you obviously, I think everyone in agreement, adapted screenplay was probably the easiest category, so it's like, cool, those are the five. But original screenplay comes out of nowhere and takes away what we thought to be something that was secure, and instead we get The Worst Person in the World. What are your thoughts, Matt?
Well, like, for it to be Aaron Sorkin, once again, not a surprise because he has missed out before. He was never nominated before The Social Network, and he missed a nomination for Steve Jobs. His screenplays have gotten in less competitive years. I'm thinking of like Molly's Game. He was able to get nominated that year for that. So it wasn't surprising to me that his film was the one that missed out in the end. because I do believe that there is more passionate support for Don't Look Up than there is for Being the Ricardos, as evidenced, of course, by the Best Picture nomination, too. Suffice to say, it was a smart thing to bet on Being the Ricardos being here because it had gotten in at Critics' Choice, it had gotten in at Golden Globe, WGA, even BAFTA. So it didn't miss anywhere it needed to. It ended up missing here. And I remember, as they're going in alphabetical order, I'm like saying to myself, is it Pig? Is it like the idea that it could be the worst person in the world didn't even register for me? I really thought it was going to be Pig, honestly. And when they said the worst person in the world, I flipped out. I was so happy. But this also breaks a long-running stat that we've had for quite a number of years now, where there's usually a lone screenplay nominee. And it's funny because if Worst Person in the World had missed an international feature, then it would be our lone screenplay nominee here. So it's close. It's very, very close. But the writers went with a choice that I will never, ever begrudge. And I am just so incredibly happy to see that film get that recognition here in this category. That movie's screenplay is really, really phenomenal. And there are like a couple of like really cool like shout outs here, like with this category, so like, for example, Drive My Car is the first like Japanese screenplay to ever be nominated like in this category. Kenneth Branagh being now an original screenplay. He previously been nominated for adapted screenplay. Like he's now been like in a record breaking, I think like 7 unique categories.
Yeah, yep. I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like there was a lot of stuff that happened with screenplay. Like as a result, Eric Roth, I think, is like now like the. I'm trying to think. I think he's one of the most nominated screenwriters of all time, but he's like behind some people that are like way ahead. Like Billy Wilder, for example. But yeah, no, overall, I'm super happy about Worst Person in the World, super happy about Drive My Car. And I am sad that probably because it was a musical, that's why West Side Story and Tony Kushner couldn't get it into adapted. But what he did with those characters in that story, modernizing it, fleshing it out, I really thought that he deserved to be in there. And I'm a little sad. I didn't predict him because the writing was on the wall that he wasn't going to get in. Like I said, I went 5 for 5 in adapted screenplay. And I went with the save 5 in original. I didn't predict any like crazy surprise in that category. But man, I was just so happy for Worst Person in the World.
So happy. No, agreed. That was one of the highlights of the day, personally. The fact like they actually really watched this movie. And I was very, very thrilled about that. For a second, I thought it was going to be Mass. And I would have been very thrilled about that as well, too. Because I would have lost my mind.
I would have lost my mind.
But it was not, alas. But hey, I can't begrudge that pick. Worst Person in the World is also an amazing film. So, Malcolm, looking at these right now, adapted and original, what are your thoughts overall in this category?
Yeah, I mean, I think this was also probably indicative to the way Tic Tic Boom's night was probably going to go, because I know a lot of people were saying that was probably going to make it in somewhere, especially when it got the Writers Guild of America nomination. But then again, at the Writers Guild, a lot of movies were ineligible for that. So
yeah,
so I wasn't going to use that as a barometer for what was getting in here.
Good choice.
But once again, like this is one of those films that I thought we were going to get at least one of the musicals in here, but that wasn't going to be the case. But
they don't like musicals.
They don't.
They really do not like musicals in these categories. It's
like
pretty wild when you like go back into history of like the Oscars, like even Chicago, like just if I remember correctly, that movie I'm talking about, like obviously the one that won.
Yes.
Yeah.
It did get nominated for screenplay. I know that, but it did not win.
Yeah. Like that was the last one I think that actually was able to make it in. Ever since then, I don't think a single one has made it in since.
Unless we're counting La La Land as an original. I mean,
Uh,
if we're not, then yes,
sure.
you're right.
Yeah, no. I think that's part of the reason why La La Land did get into was because it was original. It wasn't
That's very
an
true.
adaptation of a pre-existing musical.
It's very true. All right, so Dan, thoughts upon these screenplay categories? I know you were just as happy about worst person as I know that we all were.
Yeah, I was glad to see that get in there. But these are pretty much, I got 9 for 10 in screenplay. So I mean, I was, it's pretty much a done deal. We're probably going to get Jane Campion and Paul Thomas Anderson are going to win these awards. We've been predicting this for months, right? We've been kind of on the train for these two. On these two categories. But Denis Villeneuve didn't get in director. Maybe,
that's not the one I'm referring to.
Well,
it's Brana, isn't it?
I think Brana and PTA. I think that is
that's the
that's
two.
Gonna,
Okay.
I would not consider Paul Thomas Anderson a lock for that category. Not
all right.
yet.
Well, I mean, I think everybody's thinking he's going to get an Oscar this year. He's not going to win Best Director. So
yes.
How's he going to get his Oscar? Screenplay. And that's the way. So,
but though, I mean, as much as Paul Thomas Anderson has been nominated, like he's now an 11-time nominee without a win. Kenneth Branagh got quite a few nominations to increase his tally this year too, and he doesn't have a win. He's been nominated now for 8 Academy Awards now, so he's right behind Anderson. And also the fact that Belfast won the Golden Globe for screenplay.
All right. I just think PTA, it's his year. He's going to win an Oscar. If he doesn't win in director, he's going to win.
Knock on wood.
Screenplay. Knock on wood. And I think he deserves. I think
here's what you do. Here's what you do to get everybody a win. You give Paul Thomas Anderson screenplay. You give Power to the Dog director, and you give Belfast picture. But that's not going to happen. So
no,
because
we've had this discussion between Linklater and
we all tried to get cute that year and it didn't work out. So
they were like, no, we're not going to do it. We're not going to
this conversation again right now.
No, we're not. We had a conversation about that a while ago. Malcolm, go ahead and we can continue on.
Like the thing I was going to bring up is I know once again I'm going to reference the Writers Guild. When the Writers Guild sort of came out, like the big headline that I saw was Oscar frontrunners missing ineligible for this, and the two they were referring to was Belfast and Power the Dog. So I mean, I think it's safe to say like Belfast is apparently considered the front runner for adapted original screenplay. And honestly, I'd like to see Brother get a win.
Yeah, he would. I correct me if I'm wrong, but if he won a screenplay, I can't remember. Is that his Oscar win that he has under his belt? Was it a screenplay?
Kenneth Branagh?
Yes.
I think
he's never won.
He has not won. Okay, I couldn't remember if he had won for like Hamlet or something, or Henry VIII.
That's why I'm saying like PTA and Branagh this year is a really, really tight race.
That's
But you gotta be careful about King Richard too. I think King Richard's got a legitimate shot at winning this.
Not screenplay, but I will say this about King Richard: it got in everywhere where it needed to. It did not show any sign of weakness, and I think that bodes well for the category I think it's going to win.
Well, it's going to win Best Actor, but we haven't got there yet. So
yes, which by that way, we're going to move on to they had animated and live action short. I'll read off the nominations, but I honestly don't think many people predict them full force until we actually see them. You guys have any thoughts about the short categories at all? No offense to the artists.
Haven't seen a single one yet. I'm planning on watching all of them. And yes, I take the same approach where I typically listen. If I didn't have a day job, I would watch them in advance, but I don't have time, and now that I only have to watch 15, I'm definitely going to watch all 15. Yes. I haven't started yet, but I am going to get around to it pretty shortly.
Much easier. I agree completely.
Robin. I did like the windshield wiper, but keep an eye out for Robin and animated. People are talking about that one.
Duly noted. All right, so we have those, and we got to supporting actor right before we get to the break. We had supporting actor came, and while less Well, do I want to call it less chaotic than supporting actress? Maybe as not because of the Dench inclusion. But
Mhm.
we had best actor in supporting role. We had Kieran Hines, Belfast, Troy Kotsur, Coda, Jesse Plemons, The Power of the Dog, J.K. Simmons, Being the Ricardos, Cody Smith McPhee, Power of the Dog. Especially after that miss with Screenplay, seeing J.K. Simmons appear for Being the Ricardos was kind of baffling. But I guess that shows the support lied with the actors and really not with a lot of other places. So
I will say this about the
Matt?
acting categories. I find it hilarious that the nominees that we ended up getting were a lot of our predicted nominees before the BAFTA nominations came out. And then when the BAFTA nominations came out, everybody moved everything around and started like going crazy. But no, J.K. Simmons was predicted in some people's lineups, especially after he got the Critics' Choice nomination. But that was the only thing that he had gotten. He didn't get in a Globe,
Yeah.
he didn't get in a SAG, he didn't get in a BAFTA. And Critics' Choice nominations were pretty early. So I did find that to be interesting. I find it to be a little crazy overall that Being the Ricardos got 3 acting nominations and nothing else. That's wild to me. But J.K. Simmons, he always struck me as somebody that would get another nomination after Whiplash. I just didn't think it would honestly be for this. And I don't hate him being here. Same way I am actually thrilled for Jesse Plemons.
Yes.
I'm genuinely thrilled for him. I made the argument that he wasn't going to get in this year, but he would be in contention next year for Killers of the Flower Moon. But who knows? Maybe now this is only going to help him because now he's in the club and he's on people's radar. The same way like Adam Driver got in for Black Klansman is supporting, and then had Marriage Story a year later. But listen, we could have had Jared Leto. We don't have Jared Leto, so that's great. And Bradley Cooper, listen, I love Bradley Cooper. I want to see him win eventually at some point. I really did not personally think him winning or even being in talk for a win for Licorice Pizza was a thing. And I kind of glad that he did not get this because I'm sorry, but like, I think he does a lot of really, really great effective work in that limited amount of screen time, but I would not wanted to have seen articles and like people saying, "Oh, he's going to win finally, and this is going to be it." Like I'm just glad that he's out of the conversation. Honestly, I would not
also want to.
Also, too, why would you want to give him like Glenn Close like another nomination just to see him lose?
Yes, I would not want to put. I don't want that to be Bradley Cooper's Oscar win. It's like if he wins for something, be it a great supporting performance. I mean, that's why I don't like Judi Dench's Oscar win for Shakespeare in Love. She's a glorified cameo.
And here's the most hilarious thing, too. He actually got nominated for an Oscar this year again.
Against his own will. He got in.
He produced Nightmare Alley. So now he has a total of 9 nominations without a win.
Yeah. So,
say
la vie. But Malcolm?
No, I was about to say, like for supporting actor, like, as much as I do love Ben Affleck in The Tender Bar, he's another one that that if he'd got in, I didn't want to see the headlines going, "Oh, Ben Affleck's gonna lose again." Because
he's already a 2-time winner. He's fine.
Yeah.
He's happy.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to see Ben Affleck get recognized at some point for his acting. I would like to see that happen, but I really did not care for The Tender Bar, and I thought he was the best thing about it, but like that movie did nothing for me. So I agree his inclusion would have made the lineup better. I would have liked to see him nominated over maybe J.K. Simmons. But listen, this lineup, it's good. This is a fine lineup, and now there's a lot of talk about whether or not Jesse Plemons' inclusion pulls votes away from Cody. I don't believe. I don't know yet. I don't know. We didn't see that happen with 3 Billboards. We didn't see that happen with Judas and the Black Messiah. But at the same time, I do think Troy Kotsur is a very strong number 2. Very strong. Right.
Which I will add upon that fact is that Troy Kotsur, I feel like has been, because he has everything also that Cody also has. They are kind of like 1A, 1B at this point. They have been there nipping at each other's heels. Cody, of course, has the critics. But Troy Kotsur's narrative to win is to me like it would just warm my heart if we've seen his nomination reactions. Like it just makes my heart so full to see how excited he gets.
I want to
Not
see
saying
him.
Cody
I
Smith
want to
McPhee.
see him win. I really do.
Yes. I would love that too. And not saying Cody Smith McPhee wasn't excited, but we didn't see, we didn't see that video.
Well, it's not even so much
But
about him being excited. I just personally, I think his performance in Power of the Dog is more a credit to Jane Campion's writing and directing than it is to him. I don't think much is. It's a very internalized performance, and I know that there's different strokes for different folks type of thing. Like some people prefer that style, but for me, I personally would vote for Troy if I was given the chance.
No, I agree. And I will add to the fact that Cody Smith McPhee's possible Oscar win in the future, I don't know, would seem akin to a lot like, we don't like talking about him, but Kevin Spacey's win in The Usual Suspects, where his win to me goes more along the lines of how good the screenplay is and if you've seen The Usual Suspects, the reveal, and Cody Smith McPhee, I think also with again, spoiler alert, the reveal at the end and kind of how those play with each other, that would be similar. Like it would be kind of like, okay, but you're right. I think Troy does more. Dan, I know you love the Tinder bar, and I know you wish Ben Affleck would have gotten in. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I would have. I don't think I would have went for both of the Dog Boys. I mean, I think I was shocked that the Belfast boys didn't get in, but both of them, the way things went with this category. But yeah, I think. Him in The Last Duel and in the Tender Bar. I mean, you could argue he's one of the best. He gives two phenomenal performances this year in supporting roles in completely different movies, and he does completely different things in both movies. Yet he still gives great performances in both movies. But you're gonna compare people. I would compare Cody Smith McPhee to more of a Timothy Hutton in Ordinary People type of thing, where if he wins this year, you're probably never going to see this guy again.
No, I don't think so. Cody's been around before this. I
know. Slow West, X-Men. I've watched many different things, but I'm just saying. I mean, this could be one of those movies where he's doing the best work of his career at the right time, the right moment, and the zeitgeist just rewards him for it, and then you might not see him do this kind of work again. Kind of similar to a Timothy Hutton type of situation.
Well, I will quickly add by saying I don't think this will be the best work of his career. I think he has more along the way.
I think so too. I mean, you got to remember the kid's 25 years old. He's a baby still.
Good for him.
Yeah.
And Malcolm, go ahead.
What I was going to say is I'm kind of glad Ben Affleck didn't get in for The Last Duel, because I don't want to see his name in the same conversation as Glenn Close as being a Razzie and Oscar nominated actor for the same role, even though I don't think he deserved his Razzie nomination. Yeah.
We don't talk about the Razzies here. Not anymore. They stopped being fun a long time ago, and they became mean-spirited, I would think.
Yeah,
honestly, I don't know if they were ever fun. Maybe they were mean-spirited to begin with, but I don't know.
He didn't deserve Razzie whatsoever. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. That was the most ridiculous nomination of that entire bit. So they have a talking section. We'll kind of skim by that. I kind of was like, I don't care as much. Let's get to the nominations. We move along into my favorite category, and that is film editing. Now, this is interesting because we have my favorite nomination that comes out of left field and is kind of almost inspired in a way, because it shows they actually watched this movie but didn't want to put it into Best Picture. And what I'm talking about is, well, first off, Don't Look Up, Dune, King Richard, Power of the Dog, and Tick, Tick, Boom. Power of the Dog missing editing at BAFTA. I mean, obviously got Ace, but it missed out at BAFTA. But it kind of shows the strength coming along with this film. Don't Look Up, which also
I predicted
missed
it to
BAFTA.
miss.
Yeah,
I was the only person on my team that thought that Power of the Dog might miss here, but it backfired on me, and it turned out it was Belfast that missed here, which that to me was the death nail. Like, it wasn't so much that Power of the Dog overperformed in nominations. That still would have been a talking point no matter what. But when Belfast missed editing, that was massive, in my opinion. Because if you know anything about the editing stat and Best Picture, it's a pretty ironclad stat. I mean, this is something that is going way, way back at this point, to the point where Birdman is the exception, but that was a one take movie, so it's kind of
Yeah.
easy to write that one off. But man, I Don't Look Up's inclusion here doesn't surprise me.
No.
I know people hate it, but it doesn't surprise me. It was very flashy editing, and they love Hank Corwin, and they love the work he's doing with Adam McKay. It is what it is. King Richard getting in here was great. I was happy that movie got in for a 2-hour, 140-minute long movie. That movie moves very, very well, I feel like. And Tick, Tick, Boom is like that kind of nominee that reminds me a lot of like I, Tonya getting in, where it didn't get in for picture, but it got in for editing because it was very, very showy, flashy editing. And I love that inclusion for that reason alone here. But I think that Dune is the one that I would actually say right now, I think is the one that's going to take it, because there's a lot of really great sequences in Dune that utilize editing very, very well. I of course think of the Harvester sequence. And then you also have Paul's flashes that he has, the flashbacks, and also the visions. So there's a lot of good work in there. But yeah, that Tick, Tick, Boom nomination, really, really cool. Got my hopes up about it getting into picture, unfortunately, but I'm still happy to see it here regardless.
Same. I was, for a second, I thought it was going to be getting in, and I'm like, yes, I'm going to have the exact 10. I did not. So yeah, no, but your point on, I will quickly add on Don't Look Up getting in. I had it predicted, but I had a feeling it might miss based solely upon the fact that it did in fact miss BAFTA, and Hank Corwin won for Vice. Like they liked him a lot. So I was thinking, oh, if they didn't go with it in BAFTA, are they still going to go with it here? They did ultimately, because it's just so in your face, which, it's a style. If you like it, good for you. It's divisive to say the least. And also this retains the stat that no Bond film can get into best editing at the Oscars, even if they have Ace and BAFTA editing nominations.
I predicted it too. I actually thought it might do it.
I
was an idiot and I put it in at the last minute. I actually took King Richard out and I put No Time to Die in. I had King Richard predicted all season, and I don't know what came over me that I changed my mind at the last moment. But it's fine. No Time to Die got 3 nominations, and it's an awesome movie, so totally cool.
It is. Malcolm, what are your thoughts then on film editing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot of thoughts here, but this is one of those ones that on the night, if Tick, Tick, Boom ends up taking out for Best Picture nominees in this category, then that's going to break that stat again.
Well, yeah, the last time we saw something like that happen was 2011. Girl to Dragon Tattoo won editing, and it was not a Best Picture nominee. And that the reason why many people thought it won was because it was the most editing. So I wouldn't count Tick, Tick, Boom out based on just that precedent alone.
No, and I will add upon the fact before I bring you, Dan, into it, is that there was a time when people were predicting Baby Driver to win Best Editing until Dunkirk ultimately won, because Baby Driver, in fact, won the BAFTA. So there was a time where it could be like, oh, could it repeat? Ultimately, didn't.
That's another thing too, is how much like this category is tied to Best Sound. If you have a sound nomination and you have an editing nomination, like you are golden.
Yes, you're right. And then Dune has that. Dan, editing thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Tick, Tick, Boom. I mean, this is like a no-brainer here. It's just like it's got the best editing. I mean, without No Time to Die in there, I mean, it's just amazing editing. These other films are all great. Great. I mean, really good movie. I mean, arguably, Don't Look Up's not a great movie, but it's not an awful movie. And it's kind of in the public's consciousness what's been going on in this country for the last couple of years. So, except people that have no idea what it's about, which blows my mind. Tick, Tick, Boom is. We had this conversation about how I thought, well, these guys obviously watched this movie because they put it in this category because they knew what great editing it was. But I mean, I would love to see a one-off and see a Tick, Tick, Boom win this category and just show that, sometimes you can have a one-off win something like this. And it's part of a movie that obviously Andrew Garfield it goes along with the Andrew Garfield getting in for Best Actor, So
Yeah.
it's always good to see these type of things. But Dune does have a lot of great editing with the sandstorms and the whole craziness that Paul and his mother have to go through, a lot of that type of stuff. But who knows? I mean, I really couldn't tell you but I think Tick Tick Boom has got a legit shot here.
Yeah, it's a legit shot.
I mean, like, one thing this kind of tells me is that Netflix was pushing Don't Look Up and Power of the Dog a lot more than they were pushing Tick Tick Boom.
No, yeah, they were, and I think that was, they could only juggle so much at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But
I mean, ultimately, Netflix still had a good night because they had Robin and animated short as well. So
here's something to keep in mind about this category in particular. Ever since Critics' Choice has been around since 2009, your winner in this category has shown up at either Critics' Choice, Ace, or BAFTA. And so far, we haven't gotten any winners for those three yet. But your winner is going to probably come from one of those three. So if you see a film is winning a majority of those, that's probably going to be the one that wins. Last year, we saw a split, which was crazy, between Trial of Chicago 7 and Sound of Metal, where Trial of Chicago 7 won Ace, Sound of Metal won BAFTA, and they both tied at Critics' Choice. So they both had Best Picture nominations. It was a 50-50 thing, but otherwise, your winner is probably going to come from one of those precursors.
Agreed. All right, so because for time's sake, we're going to try to condense this a little bit. And what we're going to do, I'm going to present a category to each of y'all, and I want me to give me your thoughts. And if someone says something in another category that you want to hop in on, feel free to do as such. So we're going to start off with makeup and hairstyling. Dan, I know that's your favorite category. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I mean,
what are your thoughts on makeup and hairstyling?
I've been championing this movie. There's a poster right behind me. I've been championing The Eyes of Tammy Faye ever since I saw it. And I mean, I want this category to be won by The Eyes of Tammy Faye. But I thought all the nominees were great in this category. Even House of Gucci deserved to be in this category. Whether you like the movie, you don't like the movie, whatever. I want Eyes of Tammy Faye to win this.
Okay, well, just for everyone to know, makeup and hairstyling is Coming to America, Cruella, Dune, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and House of Gucci. And of course, Dune is one we should always be on the lookout for. But this could go, The Eyes of Tammy Faye could go the ways of Vice or Bombshell and go, oh, you put a prosthetic and you made someone look different. Boom. And I think Tammy Faye, obviously, with the nominations, has more support, I think, from the Academy in general as a film, more so than Gucci. Again, we'll get into that when we get to actress. But yeah, that's good point, Dan. Anyone else want to add to
that? The only thing I will add is back when Coming to America, the other one,
yes,
was out.
America.
That one makeup and hairstyling. Whether or not it wins here, I don't know, but there's a lot of people could see it's like, oh, I like the makeup and hairstyling, even though it's the exact same kind of makeup and hairstyling they did in the original anyway, which is why it's still baffling to me it got nominated again for exactly the same stuff it did in the original. But that being said, like, I don't think it's winning here for that reason. I think it's going to go to the one of the other prosthetic movies.
Yeah, I love their prosthetics. Moving on to the next category real fast is that we have animated feature. So Malcolm, tell me a little more about animated feature. I mean, we can kind of guess. I think everyone almost had these 5, unless the brave souls that tried to go for Sing 2. God bless you. We have, oops, I just lost that one. Where did it go? Oh, no. Oh, here we go. Encanto, Flea, Luca, The Mitchells versus the Machines, and Raya and the Last Dragon. Or Raya and the Last Dragon, excuse me. So, Malcolm, thoughts?
I mean, this is pretty much like what I predicted. Like, there's part of me which was like, when it was getting closer to the cutoff time for the Gold Derby, is like, do I take out Flea and put in Sing 2? Am I going to be that brave? It's like, I ended up not because I forgot to do it. And I'm glad I forgot to do it because I went 5 for 5.
Same.
But I mean,
Same.
and we're going to be talking more about Flea and other categories anyway.
Yes.
But like, Flea made history here. But yeah.
It did, in fact, make history. And one of the places that made history is the next category that announced, which is original song. And Diane Warren, Matt, is on her 13. She got, Fuzz Oliver says, Diane Warren got 13 Oscar nominations, and she is, again, happy to be nominated. What are your thoughts on original song, which are King Richard, Encanto, Belfast, No Time to Die, 4 Good Days?
I saw Four Good Days a long time ago at its world premiere at Sundance. When I found out that Diane Warren had done the song for it, I got to admit I kind of dismissed it. I should have, though. I really, really should have paid attention to the fact that they actually campaigned that song. It was like I laughed when I got it in the mail. That they sent me the sheet music and they were like trying to campaign it. I literally laughed about it. Not because the movie is like a joke or a bad or anything like that. It's just that nobody saw it. And yet here she is again amongst No Time to Die from Billie Eilish, like who's huge right now. Belfast with, Down to Joy and Kanto, which is also massive at the moment, and King Richard with Beyonce. So like, that is just like the power of Diane Warren and whoever her friends are that just keep on nominating her. I mean, it's just kind of incredible. I would laugh my ass off if they just decided to just give it to her because they're tired of nominating her and they just get it over with. I would laugh so hard. But otherwise the other 4, those 4 were widely predicted to get in. The fifth slot, a lot of people were thinking, could it be So Maybe Start From Annette? I would have loved to have seen that. Could it be Coda? I would have loved to have seen that. Nope, we got Diane Warren.
Maybe Just Look Up. Again, another mega star in there.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We could have had that. That could have been their quote unquote big names that performed. But they're going to
get Billie Eilish and Beyonce. That's pretty substantial.
That is like a 2 of the biggest names in musical history that are currently still living.
And then maybe they'll find a Spanish pop star or somebody really, really popular to do Dos Orguitas. That would be really cool.
Who sang it in the movie again?
I cannot remember, but I know Lin-Manuel Miranda is the one that did the music and lyrics. So
they might have him try to sing.
I doubt that, but like just to get another name on the show, it wouldn't surprise me if they were to get somebody that is Spanish speaking, but also like hugely popular.
Just a thought.
Shakira, I think, is Spanish or Spanish speaking.
What they could what they probably might do is, especially because he's still fresh hot off "Marry Me." I believe. Is it?
Mark
What's
Anthony?
his name?
Mark Anthony?
No.
Milano or what's his name?
Yeah, that guy.
That guy, he's fresh off of "Marry Me." He's popular. I forgot his name now. I'm gonna look it up right now while I'm looking at any thoughts. Maluma. Thank you.
Just a thought. They give out sometimes honorary Oscars for things. Could they give an honorary Oscar for We Don't Talk About Bruno?
No. No,
just a thought. I don't know. You never know.
They will be giving out an.
I'm still kind of shocked that song has blown up the way that it has. I thought the song was fine. I really don't understand the love behind it.
It's the power of TikTok, man.
I guess, yeah. Crazy.
It is. It just blew up, and now it's like, wow. But I think I was mentioning last night on another podcast that we're on. It blew up when it, when it was on Disney Plus. After it became on Disney Plus and widely accessible, people were like, "Boom! This is when we're going to see it and view it." And then TikTok took it and ran with it.
And they also recently announced that you won't have to show proof of vaccination to attend the Oscars now. So that's how they're going to get Van Morrison to perform.
That's the only reason they were able to do that. We were all wondering, so how are they going to get him? Oh,
Yeah,
that's how they're going to do it.
Pull that bullshit.
Oh God. Well,
and I'll get the old crowd to want to watch because they want to see him sing.
But even if they didn't, even if they did still have the vaccination passes and that, they probably could have still gotten Van Morrison to record something to show if anything, if it
they could have recorded,
they could have
pre-recorded
had
everything.
him recorded on a Zoom. Just had a Zoom set up of him on a stage somewhere singing the song. You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. All right, so the original song, documentary short. We'll skip documentary short. Respect to all the nominees. When we actually watch those, we'll discuss it at a later date. Congratulations to all those nominated. Documentary feature. Now, this is interesting. Documentary. Well, first off, let me tell you what actually has been nominated. But documentary feature is known for their emissions, and this year, tell me which one missed: Ascension,
Rescue.
Attica, Flee, Summer of Soul. Oh, wait. Riding with Fire. Yes. The Rescue is your big winner. I wouldn't say, because Summer of Soul was, in fact, the front runner, but The Rescue always felt like a number two.
No. Amongst us, that was the one that we were like, if they're going to snub anything, they're going to snub Summer of Soul, because that was the front runner. And
yes,
the stat, quote unquote, of them snubbing the front runner sort of is holding true with...
sort of.
Yeah, with The Rescue. I mean, last year, Dick Johnson is Dead was the Critics' Choice Award winner for Best Documentary. So there was a moment where it was the front runner, but then Time won more Critics' Awards than Dick Johnson is Dead. So, but they didn't snub Time. They still snubbed Dick Johnson is Dead. So I think you saw a similar thing happen here where Summer of Soul was clearly the front runner, but the second perceived front runner was The Rescue. And I really thought it was going to be the other way around. And now that Summer of Soul is here, it's probably going to win the whole thing.
Yes, I agreed. I think from what I was aware of is that sometimes they're iffy on archival footage, but if Summer of Soul made it in here, it shows that there is support, even if it is quote unquote it's the archival footage. There's a lot more it's more than just archival footage. It's also talking heads and great use of audio as well too. So I think they saw the craftsmanship and were like, yes, we still want to reward this, and especially since Questlove literally shouted it out on the Oscars last year.
and Flea is the first documentary since Woodstock, going all the way back to 1971, to receive more than 2 nominations as a documentary. So that's pretty cool.
Yes, highlight that. Congratulations to Flea for being able to attain that. I think most people were like, "Oh, it's probably not gonna happen. It's gonna miss somewhere," but it made it into all 3, and I'm just happy for Flea.
Yeah, I mean, and on that note about archival footage, maybe the documentary branch was things like, well, we don't really want to saturate this category with documentaries that had archival footage. We put just one of them. So it was like they just threw a dart, and Dart was like, Summer Soul. Well, we'll go for that.
The thing too is, I mean, I've seen 4 of the 5, and I'll tell you right now, I don't know what anybody's opinions. I don't think Ascension deserved to be in here at all. I mean, I'm watching that movie and I'm thinking, what is so great about this?
This is that art house pick that is like, it's unique, it's different. They went for it because of its uniqueness.
I mean, these other 3 of these other, Attica's really interesting story about something I didn't know anything about. And obviously, same thing with Summer of Soul, but it's got music to it. But The Rescue had a lot of things going for it that was different. They used a lot of different techniques within the film.
Well, they did a lot of reenactments. That's not new necessarily. They were just implemented very well.
Yeah, I mean,
we're going to see also a feature film about The Rescue this year from Ron Howard.
Ron, it's going to come out in November. So they moved it up to November to try to capitalize.
So maybe The Rescue will have a comeback. This upcoming Oscars.
It begs me a question. Did Do You Want to Be My Neighbor make any waves the year after?
Be My Neighbor.
Yeah,
but
Tom
whatever
Hanks,
won the movie, I was talking about the
Hanks.
actual Tom Hanks movie as opposed to the documentary. Because did that do anything at the Oscars the year after?
Yeah. Won't You Be My Neighbor? Tom Hanks was nominated. For what was that movie called? Won't You Be My Neighbor? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Friendly
Wait, the
Danger-
documentary?
No.
Wait.
A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. There we go.
Beautiful Day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Matthew Reese, right? Or no?
Matthew Reese. Yes, that is
and
the
Tom
one.
Hanks both got in for that, didn't they?
No,
No,
Matthew
Reese did not.
Oh, okay. All right. Tom
Um,
Hanks can. Okay.
So yeah, the theory that the actual movie of the rescue will do waves next year
That's a-
could hold true.
That's a fun stat if that makes true. That's a fun fact. It misses, and then the movie that makes it gets in for something. That's funny. All right. So documentary feature. Always a delight to watch documentary feature and whatever they do. So you know it's going to be something that's interesting. I haven't seen Riding with Fire. I'm super. I gotta see it.
It's really good.
As someone who works in journalism, I'm all for this. So I'm just thrilled.
I gotta see that too, man.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. All right, so we're going to do once more where we're going to each take one. So this next one that we had announced was visual effects. And I know, Malcolm, it's one of your favorites. So tell me, visual effects. What did you think of visual effects after I, of course, tell the visual effects to you, which is Dune, Free Guy, No Time to Die, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing much too surprising here. Like, I mean, one that was kind of mildly surprised about that was getting in visual effects everywhere else was Ghostbusters Afterlife. Because that's the one that I thought might have gotten for their recreation of Egon in the movie. But that wasn't the case. But other than that, I'm happy with what we got. Based on what happened on the shortlist, there was this entire possibility that we could have gotten Dune and Marvel in this
Dune
one
and four
category.
Marvels.
Because all four Marvels was on the shortlist, but I smartly predicted that wasn't going to happen. And seeing Spider-Man No Way Home and Shang-Chi being the two Marvel ones to get in, I'm happy about it because I think the visual effects in those two specifically we've done really good. And
Yeah.
Free Guy is basically visual effects anyway, so and
Yeah.
I don't know what the stat is about movies with the most visual effects winning. But I don't think it's really good because I think Endgame was in visual effects, and that year I think they had the most visual effects, and it lost to Ad Astra, wasn't it?
No, it was 1917, I believe, won visual effects that year, if I'm not mistaken, or is that not correct? What won that year?
For which year?
The in-game year. Was that 2019?
Oh, that was First Man.
Oh, wait, was it First Man?
The end game
wow.
year, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Okay, well, again, if that
Actually,
was the case,
I think it
Oh
was.
no, wait! I'm sorry. Jesus Christ, I'm thinking of the Infinity War year. No, 2019.
Okay, I was gonna say
2019 was 1917.
Okay, I was right. All right, I was like, I am not confident in that whatsoever. So yeah, it's. I guess it's. Yeah, you're right. It's not most visual effects that win. Usually, it's the best use of visual effects.
Yeah.
But
this year it's going to go to Dune.
Yeah, it's the best. Yeah, 100%. All right, so Matt, cinematography happened. So again, for those who are unaware, the nominees are Dune, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. So, thoughts?
5 awesome nominees. I think that in the event of the 6 being Belfast, potentially, I think that they chose the right 5 to be in this category. I don't mind the cinematography in Belfast the same way that some other people do, but I'm glad that it's not here. And so this makes it a very, very exciting race, in my opinion. This is one of the races where it could go a multitude of different directions. You could see Tragedy Macbeth surprise here because it's just so incredibly good looking to look at.
Oh, yes.
Power of the Dog could get swept up with the Best Picture win. Dune winning would also not be surprising to me. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways this can go. And I think that those are 5 really gorgeous looking movies.
No, I agree. These are a very incredible cinematography choices, and not upset about them. I think the
Dune's got this, guys.
Yeah,
Dune's got this.
Dune. Well,
I love to see
Howard.
Nightmare Alley, but Dune's got this.
don't count Power out. That could be one of the below the line that could take it. So
Yeah.
don't count it out.
Good point. Good point.
And I mean, I think this is one of those ones, depending on how the Oscars they organized this year. If Power of the Dog starts winning a lot of awards, there's a good there's definitely a good chance to easily predict a sweep for Power of the Dog as well. So
This could be one of the categories of absolute sweeps. You're right.
yeah.
She would also become the first female winner in this category ever, which I think if they push that narrative hard enough, that could turn the tide and give the win to the Power of the Dog.
100%. 100% it could. All right. Production design, Dan. All right. So,
Where am I?
correct me if I am wrong for production design. Is this the exact same 5 we got for cinematography? Because Dune, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, Tragedy Macbeth, and West Side Story.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that until it was pointed out to me a few days later. But Dan, your thoughts on production design? And
Yeah, I would have kicked out West Side Story here and got French Dispatch in here.
Oh.
I think French Dispatch has had some of the best production design all year. If you had to kick 2 of them out, I'd get rid of Tragedy Macbeth and put The Last Duel in here, because I think that production design was phenomenal. Like the things in the background, the animals walking around, all the different things that were going on in those various scenes. There's so much production design in The Last Duel, and I don't know how you can ignore it. But
I would have personally have removed the Power of the Dog to make room for the French Dispatch.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, okay. I mean, I don't think the production design of West Side Story is all that great. But
I disagree completely.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
I think it looks amazing.
But Power of the Dog, I think that's more of a cinematographer movie than a production design. So you make a good point there. But yeah, I think they got. You want to replace people and character and this. You picked the wrong categories with supporting actor and supporting actress. You should have done it in productions, because a couple of these movies didn't deserve to be in here compared to some others. Definitely the French Dispatch got robbed in this category.
Yeah. I mean, what I was about to say is in the Power of the Dog, I personally thought it was actually great production design, because and I know I've banged about this many times. This was from New Zealand. It's hard to believe this is New Zealand. So I mean, the fact they made New Zealand look like Montana. And, I mean, to me, that kind of makes it great production design, is the fact that because I mean, as someone from New Zealand, like, I'm used to watching like things like Lord of the Rings and be able to pick like, oh yeah, I know where that place is. I know that place is. Power of the Dog was filmed in my city, and and if I had not known that, I would have just thought this was filmed in America, because like a lot of those places are like on these sort of backdrops of the city, and it's just one of those ones that I would not have realized this was New Zealand, and if I hadn't known it was being filmed here. So I mean, I think that does make it worthy of this. Well, yes, I would have loved to see the French Dispatch here. And even look, I get that the Oscars weren't a big fan of the French Dispatch. I understand. This is probably the one that, even if you weren't a fan of the movie, you can't deny that a Wes Anderson film is great at production design and should have been here. But yeah.
No, I agree. Thank you for giving me a newfound respect for Power of the Dog's production design. I didn't think about that till you just mentioned it, as someone who actually lives in the same city. All right, and we have 5 more, and we're going to rush through this because we're going to try to get done at 5:15 because I got somewhere to be. So quickly, international film. If I can find it, because this is going all over the place. International feature film: Drive My Car, Flee, The Hand of God, La Luna, A Yak in the Classroom, and The Worst Person in the World. I think we all knew this was kind of like going to be I think it was like supporting actors or screenplay. Like, this is the safe 5 we were all going to have, but something was going to make it at the end. I want to hear quickly everyone's thoughts in regards to international screenplay, international feature film. Matt, What's your thoughts on the 5?
Grade 5 overall. I would not have personally have nominated Lunana, A Yak in the Classroom, but like I mentioned before, there was some campaigning going on behind the scenes, and it was able to get in here. It's not a bad movie by any means. It's pretty good, worth checking out if you have a chance to do so. The others, though, I am a huge fan of, and well, actually, I take that back. I am not that high on The Hand of God, but that's another, once again, the power of Netflix, their campaigning, being able to get that one in there. But Drive My Car, Flea, and Worst Person in the World are literally 3 of my favorite films of this year, 2 of which are in my top 10. So very, very happy, especially with Flea getting the historic 3 nominations overall, becoming the first film to do so. That's really, really great.
And I will add now, actor in a leading role. Dan, I want to hear your thoughts. Javier Bardem being the Ricardos, Benedict Cumberbatch, Power of the Dog, Andrew Garfield, Tick, Tick, Boom, Will Smith, King Richard, and Denzel Washington, The Tragedy of Macbeth. Ironically, the least surprising category of all the actors that we had. So Dan,
SAG 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is overdue for Will Smith. The guy's been killing it for decades now. Yeah, he's had some dips with like After Earth and some things like that, trying to get his son into some of these movies, and I think that has caused him a little bit of a few problems. But I don't think, I mean, next to Pursuit of Happiness and maybe Ali, this is the best thing he's ever done in his entire career. Other than the people that like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, we'll put that aside. But he is phenomenal as Richard Williams, this overbearing father that believes he has the next 2 Michael Jordans on his hands, and he wasn't wrong, because we all know the history of what happened. And the next 2 Michael Jordans as far as a female athlete goes, and they showed the little things in here with all the different things. He gets beat up for his kids. He even takes it from his wife. His wife starts giving it to Anjunuella. So
he deserved it in my mind.
Yeah, he did deserve it. He did deserve it. But a lot of people are thinking maybe he might lose because he's been the front runner all this time to Benedict Cumberbatch. And I'll tell you right now, if Benedict Cumberbatch wins this, wow, that snowball is going to turn into a giant boulder for The Power of the Dog, because I think Will Smith should win, and he deserves to win this category. Andrew Garfield, I know a lot of people like him, but I don't think it's his year. Unfortunately, Denzel is Denzel. I mean, what are you going to say about Denzel? He's the greatest, one of the greatest actors of all time. He's one of my favorites. But Will Smith, it's his turn. And a lot of times it's a popularity contest. It's like, yep, it's your turn, Will. And this year it's his turn.
That's how I feel like in regards to like Sandra Bullock winning for like The Blind Side. It's just like, it was not the best performance in that category, but just the industry just decided it's your time. And that's been the narrative from day one with Will. And I agree. People are like, where did this narrative come from? Why has it got to be this way? How long can he sustain this? You know what? He has not shown any signs that he's going to lose. Until he does lose, until he loses SAG, BAFTA, or Critics' Choice, he has done everything that people like myself have said that he was going to do. And yes, I am one of those people who started this narrative early at Telluride when I saw the movie premiere and said, oh, Will Smith is going to win the Oscar for this, and here we are. And we always said that he was not going to be big with the critics, and he wasn't. And he would win where it mattered. He would win Golden Globe. He would win Critics' Choice. He would win SAG. And so far, he's got the Globe. So,
and I'm a critic, and I loved King Richard. I loved him.
There you go.
So there you go, Matt.
Well, I mean, he still hasn't won enough critics precursors. Not like Benedict Cumberbatch, who's won like the majority of them.
The one thing, the thing I was going to add here is there's a new narrative that came out of this. Will Smith can get revenge on Denzel Washington for beating him for Ali.
He's right.
There you go.
Right. Back when that Ali year, he won for Good Will Hunting, not Good Will Hunting, Training Day.
I was going to say, but no. All right. So actor was nothing in comparison to actress, as we all know. The other, wow, let me tell you. Actress in a leading role: Jessica Chastain, The Eyes of Tammy Faye; Olivia Colman, The Lost Daughter; Penelope Cruz, Parallel Mothers, Nicole Kidman being the Ricardos, and Kristen Stewart, Spencer.
Which, by the way, was the perceived lineup for a lot of people before the Gaga thing started happening, where she was getting in everywhere, before BAFTA happened and like it screwed up everybody. Like, I'm sure that if some people just stayed the course and never changed their 5 predictions, they would have gotten 5 for 5 here if they, just stayed the course. But BAFTA had us all thinking that this was going to go to Alana Haim might get in. Renata Rensby might get in for worst person in the world.
Yeah.
Rachel Zegler, who won the Golden Globe, maybe she would surprise with West Side Story. There were a lot of different avenues this could have gone down. And in the end, man, the Spencer nomination, like, it's crazy to think that, for Kristen Stewart, that she's this, like Will Smith, this anointed early front runner. She wins all the Critics Awards, gets snubbed at SAG and at BAFTA, and now everyone thinks, well, that movie is dead. It's not getting nominated anywhere else. The guilds aren't even going for it for costumes and things like that. She's done. She's dead. It's over. We all take her out. We all say she's not going to make it. So when she does make it, it's like this huge surprise, and everybody's so shocked and so happy. And that was, she's my favorite performance of the year. And like that just, woo!
Yeah, man, I'm right there with you. We were all watching it live, Matt, just like you probably were. And we were just so thrilled. We're so happy to see her get in there because we knew she gave a great performance. Whether you like the movie, you don't. She gives.
She was fantastic.
But if the BAFTAs, they have this thing about the Royals, they were gonna, hey, don't be messing around with our Royals, So
well, I will say BAFTA in and of itself is the stat I don't understand truthfully. Like the top 2 vote getters, we're gonna have to do like think pieces or figuring out what on earth. Like
I need to say this. This is very important because I keep saying this and nobody seems to be listening to me.
I'm listening. Tell me.
I understand the top 2 vote getters thing is important. I totally get that. I think what people are not realizing is that the BAFTA overlap with the Academy is not as big as people think it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a block. Like there is a block within the Academy that are BAFTA voters, but I do not believe that they are a majority vote in the Academy.
Actors,
you're absolutely right.
Majority vote in the Academy.
Yeah,
so actors obviously liked Kristen Stewart, and they got her in to the 5. That's how she got in there. Actors are the biggest voting body, and the actors realized what a great performance she had given, despite that she was playing a royal or whatever, Yeah.
I mean, despite all that, I just find it funny that the Oscars loved someone playing a British person while the British did not love that person performance.
Yep.
Agreed.
Not the way that she was not the way she was portrayed in this movie. No. I mean, when your descendants are, on the board of the BAFTAs as, it's like, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that they completely shunned her out there. But yeah, that was great. Penelope Cruz getting in for Parallel Mothers is also a really welcome nomination. Yeah. It is a little upsetting to see that we're going to go another year, 94 years, and Halle Berry is still the only Black actress to ever win in that category. Not to say that even if Jennifer Hudson or Tessa Thompson were nominated, that they had a shot to win. I don't think that they did. But it is still something that should be brought up because I do think that it is still kind of a disgrace that we're coming up on 100 years and we're moving the needle in other directions elsewhere. And that's really great to see. But this is still something that is a struggle.
I will have to dip right now for personal matters. However, Dan, I need you to take over for the last one, but I'm going to leave you guys with this. Best director, we have Kenneth Branagh, Belfast. Ryusuke Hamaguchi, Drive My Car. Paul Thomas Anderson, Licorice Pizza. Jane Campion, The Power of the Dog. And Steven Spielberg, West Side Story. No Denis Villeneuve, which I would absolutely love to hear thoughts about why that is the case. I have to get going now. So again, Matt, thank you for joining us. Dan is going to be taking over for the last category. You guys can all find me right here at Cinna_man. That's CINE_MANN. And go vote in our Gone with the Wind Awards. So why not? If you don't like what the Oscars did, maybe you can like what you guys did as the community votes itself. thank you guys again. Matt, thank you. Dan, Malcolm, always a pleasure. And I gotta go.
See you later, Manny.
See ya.
Yeah, Matt, I just can't fathom how this guy could miss. I mean, I could see a Kenneth Branagh missing, and I could see a Steven Spielberg missing, but I just couldn't fathom it. And I know you have some kind of a story like you think how he could miss, but I just you can't have all that stuff in below the line and not reward the director.
Right, which is why the only explanation that makes sense is people assumed that he was safe and they didn't vote for him. They wanted to probably, but they just assumed I would rather throw my vote towards Hamaguchi because he's somebody who needs my support. Denny doesn't need my support. Other people are going to vote for him, sort of thing. And even that is a bit of a stretch to say. I don't believe that this is some sci-fi biasness. I don't believe in that. But I will say it is very similar to Inception, when that film got in for literally everything except for director. Christopher Nolan was not nominated for director for Inception, but it got picture, it got screenplay, it got all of those tech awards. So this performed in a very, very similar fashion. And I can only chalk it up to, a few different things. And that is probably the assumption of someone being safe. And then also Steven Spielberg, like I said before, has friends within the Academy who will vote for him because they just love him. And if they're not his friends, they respect him. They idolize him as a god. And they just put his name down. Jane Campion is clearly the runaway. She gets the most votes, friend or no friends, doesn't matter. She's winning this damn thing. Hamaguchi, I think, got those passion votes where it was like, all right, I got to take somebody out to make room for him. And Branagh, I believe, is like kind of a mixture of both passion, friends. He's been in the industry long enough that it makes sense. He was previously also nominated for director before. It was shocking. It was by far the most shocking omission of the day for me to not see Denny there, to the point where I was having trouble processing it. Like, I couldn't believe it was real. But I'm okay with it. I've made peace with it because I do not believe that it was a snub. A snub implies that there is a personal disdain towards the individual. I don't believe that is the case here. And I also know that part 2 is coming. And
right.
That gives Denny another chance to come back stronger, better. And I think that if anything, it increases the probability that he could win because there would be now at this point a built-up sympathy.
No, I agree 100%. Malcolm, you got any thoughts on director?
Yeah, I mean, I was saying because when we're doing our nomination predictions, I actually said I would not be surprised if the person that falls off, so Hamaguchi gets in, is Denis. And I had most people sort of said, "Oh no, that's not going to happen."
But Belfast, Malcolm. I thought it would be Belfast. I didn't think it would be Denis Villeneuve.
And considering that Belfast had missed cinematography and editing before, it looked like it was possibly even heading that way. But I think this still proves that Belfast is still strong in the race overall for Best Picture with him getting in. I mean, I thought it was going to be Spielberg because, West Side Story had been showing a lot of weakness in the lead up to the Oscar nominations. And it getting as many nominations as it did, I wouldn't say that it overperformed. I would say that it performed and maybe slightly. I mean, him getting in director was like the slight overperformance, but at the same time, he's Steven Spielberg. Despite what you like him, you love him. He's the greatest director living right now. He's the greatest living director. He might be the greatest director of all time. But you look at the last 10 years of his filmography, not the best work of his career, in my opinion. And yet, whenever he has a movie that is seriously contending for Oscars, he always either gets in for picture or director or both. Always. Bridge of Spies, The Post, and War Horse all got in for picture, even though he didn't get in for director. The ones he does get in for director for Lincoln and now West Side Story, I would argue those two films are stronger than those three I just mentioned that he didn't get in for, and that's why he got in.
Yeah, and he's the first filmmaker to be nominated in 6 consecutive decades.
I know.
As well. So
Well, that tells you why he's the greatest of all time. I mean, Malcolm,
exactly. That's
he's not
where I was
my
going
number
with
one.
that.
He's not my number one favorite director of all time, but he's my number 2. But I admit it's like me saying, "Oh, Michael Jordan isn't my favorite basketball player," but I know Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. You know, and and Spielberg. I mean, there's no doubt about what he has done in his career. I don't think he made one of the best movies of the year. I think Denis Villeneuve did make one of the best movies of the year, and the pudding is right there when he's in 10 categories. Dune's in 10 categories. But speaking of 10, let's move on to the final category here. Best Picture. We got Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. Malcolm, you go first here. You got any thoughts about are these the 10 you pretty much would have predicted, or you got one you had missed or something? Spider-Man, maybe.
I got 8 out of 10. I mean, I didn't like, as I said, while I was personally hoping Spider-Man No Way Home would get in here, I did not predict it. I got 8 out of the 10 correct. Like, I had Tick Tick Boom there, being Ricardo's. But it's just one of those ones, like, when I saw Ben Ricardo's missing out on various other places, like, I did figure, like, Ralph was probably not getting in Best Picture. And same with Tick Tick Boom, like, both of those kind of just popping up randomly throughout the nominations. They were just one of the ones that was like, well, I'm not going to get a perfect 10 in this.
Yeah, I had 9 out of 10 myself, Malcolm. I had Tick Tick Boom in place of Nightmare Alley, and I love Nightmare Alley more, but I just thought there was enough momentum for Tick Tick Boom. I thought it was going to get in, but I mean, I wasn't disappointed that Nightmare Alley got in because I love Nightmare Alley. Matt, what are your thoughts about Best Picture?
I went 9 out of 10 as well. I predicted Drive My Car to get in here, and it did, which is an amazing nomination. So happy to see it in here. Nightmare Alley getting in. It's like that's one of those things where I should have been paying attention more to the fact that there was this afterglow love potentially for Guillermo post Shape of Water. It was getting these below the line nominations and costumes, cinematography, production design. It does feel weird that it was the one to get in here. And clearly it was number 10, but like the reason why it's weird is because Tick Tick Boom got into editing and acting. Being the Ricardos got 3 acting nominations. So you would think that the actors branch of the Academy would have been able to push that movie into picture. But I think Being the Ricardos was just too divisive. And I think Tick Tick Boom, I'm sure it was close. I'm sure it was very, very close, you know, but Nightmare Alley, it getting in here over both of them. You know, what I should have also have realized maybe was there were a lot of people going to bat for Nightmare Alley in the home stretch, and not just critics, because there are a lot of critics I know who like Nightmare Alley, but I did see a lot of people in the industry, a lot of filmmaker endorsement towards Nightmare Alley. So I personally would not have put Nightmare Alley here. I think it's like half of a good movie, but I would. I mean, there's a lot of movies I would have liked to have seen get in over here, but I'm not upset with this 10. I'm not upset. Even the worst movie for me is Don't Look Up, and honestly, everything else I'm in the range of like to love. So that's a pretty good ratio for me.
No, I agree with you there, and I'll tell you, with those 3 costumes, cinematography, and production design for Nightmare Alley, that shows you that there was a lot of love for Nightmare Alley, getting in those 3 categories and then getting that Best Picture. So there was a strength behind the overall production of Nightmare Alley, and that's probably why it got in. But like you said, more than likely like a Being with Ricardo's or a Tick Tick Boom was 11 and 12. Obviously, they had to be right there neck and neck with Nightmare Alley. Just how it played out in the end. But yeah, I mean, these are pretty much the 10. I mean, and I was right with you. I was really happy driving my car because it was in my top 3 or 4 films of the year, and I wanted some foreign films to get some love this year because I think they really were some of the best films of the year. And,
Absolutely.
and we, that whole Parasite thing, maybe we finally got over that. Now we're starting to get some like Worst Person in the World. And
I mean, you could even argue last year there was a lot of love for Another Round last year.
Yeah, and Cold War a couple years back, so it's great to see that these foreign films are getting some love in these categories. But we've been going on for 2 hours and 10 minutes now. But Matt, I just want to say for Manning, for Malcolm, and myself, really appreciate your commentary and you coming on the Gone with the Wind with us, and hopefully maybe next year or down the line we'll get you back. I mean, you're just, plethora of just great information, and you can tell you do this. This is your jam. This is what you do, man. You really.
This is what I think about 24/7. Nothing else.
Yeah. But so obviously, Best Pictures, the next Best Picture show. But I mean, if you want to share any of your social medias or anything like that you want people to come follow you on.
Yeah, so everyone can find my work at Next Best Picture. You can look up the Next Best Picture podcast anywhere where you subscribe to podcasts to hear our weekly talk show. We also do interviews with various people within the industry, both above and below the line. And we also do film reviews quite often on there as well. So if you have liked my commentary here today and you want to hear some more of that, subscribe to the Next Best Picture podcast and be sure to check out all of our work at nextbestpicture.com.
And Malcolm, obviously, you're everywhere. We know that, but you're here with us every week, so we just love to have you every week. You know
that. You can find me on Tape View Productions, where I host Rankum every Saturday night. In just a few hours, we'll be talking about Liam Neeson movies. And yeah.
So for Malcolm, Manning, one quick thing that I do want to say before we go, we have one more week left of the Gone with the Wind Awards. So if you haven't voted already in the Gone with the Wind Awards, they are up right now. And we got one more week. And probably next week, we're going to go through the winners of each of the categories on next Sunday's show. More than likely, we're going to do a show next week. Don't quote me on that. It could change. Who knows? A lot of times things change. So for Malcolm, for Matt, our special guest this week, thank you. And host Manning, who had to jet out. He had a personal matter he had to take care of. And myself, Dan Skip Allen. You can find me at Disappointment Media. That's where I write all my reviews. I'm a film critic in Orlando, Florida, and I write all kinds of different types of reviews. I talked about the Yak in the Classroom. I wrote a review about that. That's all on social media. Also, my personal blog, fromthefourthrow.wordpress.com, or my name, Dan Skip Allen, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, or DP Skip Allen. I'm all over the place as well. So, but I'm a local film critic here. So, for everybody else, thank you for coming on, and we will talk to you all later.